Ladies and gents, welcome back to Ball Watching. It feels like it's been forever. Man, when was it been? Justin, maybe October 4th was our last game. So I think the 5th maybe was when we recorded this episode. It feels like much longer. But I mean, I think a little bit of a rest and recharge prior to getting back in here to final game and the final stretch for the playoffs, man. I mean, how excited are you? We're getting to that October soccer here.
I'm extremely excited for the October soccer. I kind of wish my break from you was still a little
Yeah,
longer.
for
But
sure.
yeah, but otherwise it was a good time. I feel recharged. I am getting very excited now.
Yeah, I'm recharged as well. Usually we like to start these with a five-a-side or something kind of fun to start it off, but fortunately we're on this rest or this break here because of the international break. So I've got two things international break style for you, Justin. Here, one, the U.S. Part of why we're recording at this exact time on Tuesday is because we both want to watch the U.S. take on Ghana in a 7:30 fixture in Nashville. They played Germany on Saturday. I did not get to catch it. They got whooped from what I saw, at least in the second half. But Pulisic, I mean, did anyone see his goal? That was a golazo. I mean, beautiful upper corner curler, just world class goal. And the 3-1 scoreline just does remind you, though, there's just levels to this. I mean, every player they have on that team is probably starting in our starting 11.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I was happy to see that he got a goal there. And I mean, that's one thing though that is then we gave up that lead in 3-1. And I mean, the goal was incredible. I feel like we still have a long way to go with this team. I know we're still mending relationships with the whole Berhalter stuff. So I don't want anyone to really feel like oh, we just lost 3-1 to Germany. We're kind of done. Like, let's see what we can do tonight against Ghana. I think this will be a good test. The guys have had plenty of break, and let's see what we can do. I'm excited to see what the starting lineup's going to be too.
Yeah, I am too. Ghana has been our bogey team. I feel like over the course of our tenure, especially in the World Cup, we've played them only 4 times, 3 of them in the World Cup, and we lost to them. In fact, getting knocked out by them in the group in 06, and then in the round of 16 in 2010. And then we finally adjusted in 2014. And if you remember back to that World Cup, that's when John Brooks scored that header late on the 88th minute to send us into a big dub in the group play, which was not expected with Ghana being who they are. But I don't think they're the same Ghana that we've always known. And I think we're a different form of the U.S. So I'm hoping that this trend continues.
So starting 11 is out. Matt Turner, Serginho Dest, Chris Richards, Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna, Christian Pulisic, your captain, Miles Robinson, Johnny Cardoso, Florian Balogun, Tim Weah, and Christopher Lund. They're starting 11 for
good 11. I think the one thing I think we missed last game in against Germany was Tyler Adams. I mean, I feel like the longer we play without him, the more and more you tend to miss some of what he brings to the game. So hoping we get him back soon. He gets fully recovered. But in other news, Justin, international breaks. Just a quick kind of explainer here, because we're about to hit another one at a pretty crucial moment here. Obviously, MLS is tough. We play right through those international breaks typically, where there's other leagues, especially over in Europe, do not. And this is the end of one here. That's going to obviously have us play a game this weekend on Saturday. But after round one, there is another international break from November 13th to the 21st. So let's just be hypothetical. If we won our round one matchup, we'd be looking at another probably 10 plus day break between the 13th and the 24th when the conference semis begin. So we're going to have to deal with this again, very, very shortly. I feel like it's kind of weird and choppy, especially in the playoffs. Kind of a shame to have a break in the action there.
playoffs.
We're talking about playoffs?
No, but I would agree. I think the MLS needs to get this figured out. I think it's extremely annoying. But the one thing I did want to say as well, in the international break, we had Olympic qualifying for the U23s. USA beat Mexico 2-1. 2 St. Louis connections there. Unfortunately, Indy was on the team, but he was the only field player not to make an appearance. But we did have Patrick Schulte, Slu Billiken have the start in the dub there. They play tonight as well, Jake, against Japan at 9:30 p.m. Central Time on ussoccer.com or US Soccer YouTube.
Praying for Indy. I mean, for all that travel, all that training, having kind of been a shock inclusion as well, you'd hope that he can get blooded and get some minutes there. I think it'd be big for his confidence, especially for us moving into the playoffs, donning even whatever, age group for your national team. But Justin, let's kind of get into some of the meat and potatoes here of today. Usually we like to kind of go back to their game and talk about any other thoughts we have. I'm going to go ahead and forego that because Yeah, it was a long time ago now, but Vancouver was not something we really do want to talk about again. But I do want to say we're just about there. If you think about that loading bar, we're 97% of the way through this season. We've played the whole MLS has played 478 games of the 493, and we are looking at decision day, which for anyone that doesn't know, that is this Saturday, and it is basically an MLS marathon where every single team plays their final game on that day. A lot of it just to determine the seeding and final placement for their playoff positions or eliminations. And the fun fact here is that all the Eastern Conference games happen at 5. Every single one in the Eastern Conference plays. And then in the West, everyone plays at 8. So we're obviously one in those fixture.
The one thing I want to say, Jake, because I was thinking about this math-wise, 29 teams. They can't all play at one time. DC United's season is done. So they are now. They're sitting right now in the 9th spot with 40 points. Not looking good for them because New York and Chicago have 40, Charlotte and NYFC have 38. Another thing to note real quick too, Miami plays Charlotte, and then Charlotte plays Miami on Wednesday and Saturday. So Charlotte sitting with 39 points has only played 32 games. So is Miami, but Miami's eliminated. So Charlotte is looking very good. If they get a dub tomorrow night against Miami, they will be with 42 points in the 8th spot, even by a point already. So it's kind of weird when you think about how this already, I know there's a couple extra games that's still happening. So there is a game tomorrow night for Charlotte versus Miami, the only game that'll be going on. And then every team in the MLS will play each other on Saturday night, as you described, except for DC. And they're just a sitting duck. They're screwed.
No, they're eliminated. They're gone. They have the
they are eliminated
on the standings. Yeah. I was going to say, can you imagine just sitting by and watching everyone else play in the league but you while you have to just hope for people to lose? That would suck.
And so the one thing that I did want to note on that is they're eliminated because I was looking at tiebreakers and it goes to wins first, and then it goes to goals for, or maybe it goes to goal differential and then goals for. Yep. So that's insane.
Yeah. The thing is, though, and I said that would suck, there are some teams that are realistically they have to go play, but they are really, really having to hope that teams lose. You can think of a team like Sporting Kansas City or Minnesota for that case. But, back to what we're talking about here, a couple things to mention before we get into the actual preview itself is power rankings. We're at 3rd on MLS's power rankings and 6th on ESPN power rankings. So still getting some good shouts from pundits there. And then otherwise, 2 other things to mention here. One, end of season award sucks. We can't really vote on any of those as fans. Besides, I think the goal of the year and save of the year, but none of the actual awards for certain players. How that is MLS players vote, MLS coaches, technical directors, and staff vote, and then media members representing local and national outlets vote. There is no fan vote. Like I said, it opened on the 10th and closes on the 23rd, right after decision day. And we fortunately have quite a few nominees amongst City. Berkey is up for 2 awards, the Landon Donovan MLS MVP and the MLS All-State Goalkeeper of the Year. I mean, deservedly so. He will, unless this is as corrupt as a FIFA organization is, he has to win Goalkeeper of the Year. There's just nothing I don't know you could do to prove me wrong. I feel like I know like this JT Marcinowski guy from San Jose has had a decent season as well, but it's Berkey. MVP, gonna be tough, I would say, for him. But otherwise, we're up for some other ones.
Yeah, I will say, and the only reason he's not getting MVP, like you said, because there is a goalkeeper a year, and I will say when you're looking at Lucho Acosta having 16 goals, 13 assists, stuff like that, tough to go up against. But we have MLS Defender of the Year, Tim Parker. Love that. MLS Newcomer of the Year, which has had previous experience but debuted in 2023, Edu Leuven. Then we also have an MLS Young Player of the Year, which is a U22 in the calendar year, AZ. And I feel like he actually has a pretty decent shot at it. There are a good number of young guys in the MLS. The only thing that's holding him back is that he has not been like a consistent starter all year. But for us, he's just such a spark plug. So just huge for him to even be in the nomination for that.
And then finally, MLS Comeback Player of the Year. So really anyone that overcame a severe injury or adversity as a result, missed a big part of last season. Nilsson is nominated for us. And then the Sigi Smid Coach of the Year, got to be Carnell. So if you're looking at these awards, I think we would be tremendously disserviced if we did not get Goalkeeper of the Year and Coach of the Year. Anything on top of that, I am going to be happy. That's just gravy for me.
And I'll say right now, so I'm just looking for how Roman could possibly not get the Goalkeeper of the Year, and I just don't see it. He's second in saves now behind Stuver for ATX, but Stuver had 54 goals against, while Roman only had 40. He also had 8 clean sheets to Stuver's 6. Behind him is Drake Callender. He had he had 51 goals against compared to Roman's 40, and we had 8 clean sheets and he had 5. So I think it's an easy cleanup. No one else has over 100 saves, and Roman has 120. It's just easy for him to grab.
And you look at a stat like goals added, which is a unique one. I don't know how to fully explain that, but it's an offensive stat typically, and he has the highest for any goalkeeper.
How you explain it is that absolute beauty of a side volley, which
that is true.
Nico should have finished. Like,
Easy.
I don't know if is that like an XG stat, but Jesus Christ.
Easy to explain. Actually, we missed one more adjustment before we go into potential matchups here is the Audi Goals Drive Progress Impact Award presented by MLS Works. So this is a player who demonstrates excellence in driving progress in their communities, taking part and taking an active role in trying to improve those the situations for those around them. Josh Yarrow is nominated for this. Not surprising at all. I feel like you see that on social media a lot. Not him driven whatsoever, but you see him popping around town and linking up with some really local charities that we have here. So I think it's super cool and to be nominated for, and I would love to see him take that home.
He should. I mean, that's one that it should never be overlooked, because doing that much work in the community while still being a professional athlete is extremely impressive. You could be a guy that just shows up in the field, goes home, spends your money, do whatever, but he is always in the community. That guy is in every one of City's posts, whether it's hospitals or doing things with kids and working with soccer, the new soccer fields that we're putting all over the city. That man is literally at every one of those. And the people that are usually with him as well are like the rookies. And like, so this guy is already a staple. He's drafted top 10 overall in his draft class when he was at the Union. It's just an overall great guy. And no one is more deserving than him, in my opinion.
Agree. So, I mean, for this year's award season, I kind of feel like we're that big Grammy movie the Oscar movie that is like nominated for every single award across the board. That kind of feels like us this year, but I know it's going to come down to team results. That's where we're going to find our success.
I will say, I feel like could that be the Eras Tour next year? Are we the Eras Tour?
I like that. One to think about, Justin. And a couple other things to think about before we think about Seattle more specifically is who are we going to play in round 1? So we did a couple things for scenarios here, but really the only possible matchups are Portland, Dallas, San Jose, Sporting, and Minnesota. So 5 potential candidates to play. Some more looking likely than others. So for those teams, Dallas will go to Galaxy, and a draw there could mean that Dallas could be eliminated if one of SKC or Minnesota win. And it's in a lot of this is going to, by the way, they're going to come into tiebreakers as well. And Justin, you said it, tiebreakers. If they're not separated on points, we go to wins. If they have an equal amount of wins, which a lot of these teams do, we go to goal differential, it's a lot harder to be even on that one. Sporting is hosting Minnesota. So a battle of 10 and 11, basically winner goes potentially into the wild card and loser goes home regardless. A draw here would mean death for both those teams. So someone has to win that. Portland hosts Houston. Houston want to win to keep their home field advantage locked, but Portland could fall into the wild card or possibly even get eliminated. If one of Dallas, San Jose are the winner of SKC, Minnesota all win. There's a lot going on, Justin, here. So I encourage everyone, obviously we're all playing at the same time. Primary eyes go to City, but our opponent will be determined in the same hour, 90-minute time frame.
Well, and I want to say specifically to the City game, I feel like people are like, well, why do we need to rest guys? Like, what is it for? For us specifically, it still means a lot. So when we talk about this, I always thought that it was like, if we get first in the West, then as long as we don't play Cincinnati in the final, we would have home field in the final, actually. No, that is not the case. It is the total MLS standing. So right now, Cincy has 68 points, not catching them. We got passed by Orlando when we lost to Vancouver. They have 60 points. We're not catching them because we have 56. Now, right behind us is Philly and Columbus with 55 and 54 points. So if they pass us, if we lose and both of those teams win, we would then be 5th in the MLS. And if any of the top 4 come out of the East, we would have an away game in the final. So a lot to play for us, but I would say even more to play for Seattle. So looking at these tiebreakers, as you already said, Jake, when you look at number of wins, goal differentials, then goals for, if you look at Seattle, yes, they clinched a playoff spot. They're 3rd overall right now, but they only have 50 points. Behind them, Houston, 48. So if Houston wins and Seattle loses us, Houston jumps them and Houston's then in 3rd and Seattle's in 4th. Then you look at Seattle and Vancouver, who both have 47 points. If they both win, then they would actually be tied with Seattle if Seattle lost. And then we go to the tiebreakers of most wins, which Seattle would take or sorry, Seattle, Real Salt Lake would jump Seattle, and Seattle will be out of an actual home field spot as well. And Vancouver could even jump them as well by goal differential. So if Seattle loses and the 3 teams behind them win, they would be 6th in the MLS as opposed to 3rd.
What a shift. But that's what you ask for. Decision day is all about drama, and there's going to be plenty of it. I'm hoping not as much in our game. But going to Seattle here, man. I mean, Seattle's one of the most legendary teams, I feel like, in the MLS historically. They began play officially in 2009 as an expansion team. Most notably, they won recently the 2022 installment of the CONCACAF Champions League, now Champions Cup, which we'll be featuring in next year. They've won 2 MLS Cups in 2016 and 19, 1 Supporter Shield, 4 U.S. Opens. They've just been a really successful franchise, but they also have some St. Louis connections as well. One of them, most notably, being Adeniran, who was traded to City back in December of last year. Funny because, I mean, he couldn't buy anything when he was with them, and now we got him for $100,000 in GAM. I mean, Justin, dial 911. That is a crime. These guys... What are they thinking getting rid of this gem of a player that we have found in Big Sam?
I mean, unfortunately, we also then sent him off just on loan, but they got rid of him completely. And then we brought him back. Like, yeah, we look like we're really smart. And in reality, like, what are we doing? I mean, it got his confidence up and the man has been absolutely rolling, but agreed there. Another one, Precky's their assistant coach. You remember him from his 2017 season for St. Louis FC over in Fenton Park, Soccer Park in Fenton. And then Jordan Morris, not from St. Louis, but he's a Soul Juice partner. And so I will always call that out because we love Soul Juice and we love Soul Juice. So get to souljuice.com, 20% off using code BALLWATCHING. You can get it at Deerbergs or Sam's. They just launched again in the DePere Sam's. So you can get it there at Wentzville, or you can get it online and get some merch and get stuff like us. I will also say I will be at the pitch on Saturday. The pitch is going to be absolutely rocking. This is going to feel like an absolute playoff game for us. Get there early. Someone asked me earlier the real question. I said questions for the pod, which we'll go through later. They're like, the real question is, are you guys switching from frozen Irish coffees to regular Irish coffees now? Ooh. I don't know. I feel like I need to like double fist them both.
No, I think you got to stay true to the roots there. And it was
it's
always
cold.
It doesn't matter. I always drink iced coffee throughout the entire year. It doesn't matter the temperature outside.
I have other thoughts on that, but
okay. Well, for another time. We have played Dallas. We have played Seattle recently. At least this season, it feels like forever ago now because it was kind of like, I think, the 7th game of our tenure. And it was a 3-0 L at Seattle. Never an easy place to go to. I believe Lumen Field, right? Obviously, always buzzing for the Sounders. We were locked 0-0 at half. You've heard that tale before, and you concede 3 goals from the 65th minute on. I think Seattle in that game, especially remembering back to it, did a good job finishing in that second half. I mean, every chance I feel like they got, they were, ready and willing to put it away. I do want to say the last goal they did score, you wrote it here, Justin. I remember this as well. 89th minute. 1, hate the late goals. 2, super leaky. It was off a set piece. Jordan Morris drifted to the near post. And, we concede in a late goal situation, a third, and you're going home from Seattle just having received an absolute spanking in the second half only after playing, with one of these big dogs for a full half.
Yeah, and the first half was just fine. At the 65th minute, we cannot forget it. It was an absolute rocket. I rewatched it when I was like, oh, how did they score in this game? A layoff from like 30 yards out, and the guy just curls it in the upper 90, one-timer. Awesome shot. 71st, there was a ball across the middle, about knee height or so. Rome tries to come out and dive, and it goes through his hands. One he would like to have back, but I'll never blame Roman for things like that with how he did this season. But let's get off of when we played them last time. What else have they done the rest of the season? So their record is 13, 9, and 11 when you look at win, loss, draw. 50 points, which is 3rd in the West, but that's 9th in the MLS, just with how strong the East is. Their home record, 7, 4, and 6. Away record, 6, 5, and 5. So pretty even there, I would say. But this one I kind of liked, Jake, was goals for 39th, which is 22nd in the MLS, and less than 3 teams that have been eliminated already. That was my fun little stat. And I'm like, so how is this team so high in the West? Yes, we're a little bit of a weaker conference. It's because they've only given up 32 goals against. That's second least in the MLS behind Nashville.
Yeah, it's impressive. And they've churned out some decent results against big teams as well. Late June, early July, they had a 1-0 loss at LAFC. Can't fault to team for that. A draw with Orlando, who, we couldn't manage that. A 1-0 win versus Houston, which we definitely respect as an opponent. And then in September, they drew Nashville away, which is a huge atmosphere to go to and get a point. And then most recently, they went and drew Vancouver. They did not go away to Vancouver, but still, we, obviously only could do 3-0 away. We did beat them, obviously, on our home leg. But, a team that's been willing to go out and churn results, especially of recently, which we'll get into here. And there's some big players, some big-time players.
The one thing I wanted to note real quick when you said Nashville away, wanted to give a quick shout out to Tom Barlow. He had a nice quote. So they are going on the road trying to get points as well. New York Red Bull, St. Louis native, went to Chaminade. The Red Bull are on the road in Nashville in that 10th spot right now in the East. If they get a dub, they will likely be making it into the playoffs. And Tom had the quote, "We're going into a tough place like Nashville, but we're up for it." So let's get it on Tom.
God, you certainly hope so. That's a tough place to go play. Nashville's obviously a great team. And on Seattle, we're looking at, probably Jordan Morris. You've already mentioned him, with one of the biggest names here, also their best player, I would say, especially in terms of goal output. He's 28 years old now, 51 caps for the national team, was on the plane to go to Qatar, played in the Wales match. And I feel like this isn't even a hot take anymore, but he's probably going to be one of the best MLS domestic players of all time. I remember watching him make his debut for the U.S. and he still was at Stanford, scoring a goal against Mexico, which was insane to see. He's a good guy. I feel like his head's on right. Obviously, he's a Soul Juice ambassador. You can't do wrong in my books doing that as well. So got nothing but love for Jomo. But they've also got some other solid players around him. Like their front three is just great.
Yeah, Leo Chu, left winger, 23-year-old Brazilian, came over from Grêmio in Brazil, top tier in the summer of 2021. He has 5 goals, 7 assists, most goal contributions and big chances created. So that's one of those guys where he does a lot that doesn't typically show up on the stat sheet when you say goals and assists, like 5 and 7. I would say that's probably like, 6th most on our team for goals, maybe 3rd most in assists. And that's not like overly great, but he's one of the guys that's on the ball when you think of him like a Leuven almost. Leuven has more assists and I believe more goals, but this guy can ping and help set up other players on his team that really just puts them in for great chances.
Yeah, and Nico Lodeiro is the final guy you got to talk about when you think about Seattle. I don't think he was 100% healthy last time we played him. He's getting to the upper limits, I'd say, of age in soccer now with 34 years young. Uruguayan, he's their captain, and he is just a killer with the ball. The guy, they try to find him. He can pick out that final pass with precision. He's one that you got to keep a close eye on, usually setting up centrally beneath their forward, usually being Jordan Morris up top. Honorable mentions, this team is deep, man. João Paulo is their central defensive midfielder. He's Brazilian. He's their highest rated player this season. Nuhu, if you remember him from our match, who he was a creator, devastated our defense, gets forward as a left back. Yaimar Gomez, who's a 31-year-old center back for them, has the most interceptions in the MLS. Stefan Fry is their goalkeeper. Looks like a lumberjack out there. He has the most clean sheets in the MLS. So this team is just full of, talented players that are ready and willing to even come off the bench and make an impact. So, if you're City, you can't switch off for a second. These guys have experience and they definitely have the ability to hurt you quick.
Yeah, I would agree. And as we kind of talk about now, how do those players play in the style underneath their coach, Brian Schmelzer? He played in the NASL and Major League Indoor Soccer League, mostly with Seattle, which is where he's from. As a coach, he's worked his way up literally almost through the bottom from indoor to USL, finally under Sigi Schmid with the Sounders prior to succeeding him in 2016. 133 wins, 85 losses, and 70 draws over his 288 game tenure, which is, I would say, a pretty impressive record, Jake. I would love to see, what is that total of points? What was that one time when you and I had such a hard time?
Oh, God, the win rate. Win rate.
How many points people got?
Yeah, win rate. I almost put it in here, man. I love it. You added the L. It's just Brian Schmetzer. But, I like Schmelzer.
I like Schmelzer. Yeah, we're going to go with he's now Brian Schmelzer. Just a little bit of disrespect again. Yeah, I did it on purpose.
Yeah, motion to add the L. I like that. So Schmelzer loves to play a 4-2-3-1. I kind of already talked about it with positions there, that one usually being Jordan Morris and the middle of the three being Lodeiro and Leo Chu out on the left. But Nico Lodeiro, like we said, is their main outlet in possession. Find his feet, get your fullbacks high, create a lot of width, and create chances from theirs. And we saw a lot of cutbacks as well. Some additional thoughts. This is a possession-based team. They will definitely control the ball in our own half. They do channel a lot of their attack down Leo Chu's left-hand lane, and they possess a lot of short passes. Like I said, they use the width to stretch the field. And pause, Justin, for the group here in YouTube, anyone listening to us live right now, we are doing this live. And I want to say, if you're here, go down, hit that like button, go hit the subscribe button, show us a little bit of love, baby. We're getting to the holiday season, good vibes all around. I mean, what's going to hurt? Let's get the good juju going so we can make a long, playoff extended run here. So if you're here, make sure you show us some love. And if you're here later, also still show us some love.
Or if you're in it now, like send us some comments. If you have something you want us to cover, we have a couple questions we'll covering it then. Throw them in here now. Also, get on Apple, get on Spotify, give us a 5-star. If you give us anything less, or if you give us that, put some words on it so we know what we're doing well or what we suck at so we can improve.
That's true. And because we love you all, we do have another giveaway, a We Built This City giveaway to do today. Justin, I found a good prompt for this one. So obviously the prize is $50 gift card to the pitch. Wonderful menu, wonderful people, wonderful drinks. We love the pitch. It is the official home and sports bar. I don't say soccer bar. I say sports bar of ball watching. And the prompt to enter into this giveaway, I'm going to put out a tweet. You're going to put out an Instagram after this. And it is reply to that tweet, like it, and tell us your prediction of our next opponent for round 1. There's only 5 people it could be. So you've got a 20% chance of being right. Obviously, the wild card has to be played out, but I'm talking about the person that wins the wild card, that team. Who are we matching up with in round 1? And submit that name.
That was a good one. You didn't tell me about that before. Yeah. I thought you were just going to be like, oh, what are the total amount of goals scored? Because God forbid if we say who scores in our team, we know we never score anyways. Like, I mean, maybe somehow we do this one, Jake. We don't play anyone. We get a bye. Like maybe they find out that some team like Dallas was using PEDs or something and they get thrown out. Yeah. And then so did everybody below them. So no one else to play.
All right. Well, you heard it here. $50 gift card to the pitch. You can enter. And if you will actually be, considered in the drawing if you predict our round 1 opponent correctly. And it can only be 5 teams. So we already talked about that on here. So go back and listen to that if you missed it. And tune
first in. Guess is the first thing you enter is your guess. There's no more. So many people like DM me like the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right. The total goals. The first one you got is what I'm writing down.
That is right. So back to Seattle. So Seattle sitting in third place, like you said, Justin, could lose home field with a loss and some unfavorable results from Houston, RSL, Vancouver, who are all within 2 to 3 points on tiebreakers. So they're on a solid run of form, though, I would say. 6 games played in their last 6, 2 wins, 4 draws, and I think that's solid. No L's, especially since Leagues Cup. They've only lost once. That was in their first game back. So this team has, been in the points collection business, I would say, since exiting Leagues Cup. Strengths-wise, we talked about them attacking down their wings, funneling a lot of chances to the width, attacking set pieces as well. This team is dangerous on. Number 9 currently in the MLS power rankings. Last 5 away, Justin. We're big trends guys here. It's draw, win, draw, win, draw. So, I'm not a stitious guy. I'm a little stitious here, but I mean, a win should be next, but not a City Park. They don't take into account coming to one of the hardest places to play.
Or having like 2.5 weeks off. Like, I feel like you completely lose your form or whatever your run is that way. So they do have 1.44 points per game away with a -1 goal differential. So that's what we'll kind of touch on here. So specifically for offense, their XG of 1.42 per 90 is 14th in the MLS. They average 1.18 goals for per game, which is 21st in the MLS. So we talked about it. Their offense doesn't seem overly hyped, and we can get a little bit into the details before we touch on why their defense is so strong. But their away form is also even a little worse. So 1.24 XG is 16th in the MLS, and 20 of their 39 goals for. So very even, basically half there of their goals for are on away games. When do they score? 26% of those goals for come between the 76th and the 90th, and then 21% from the 46th to the 60th. I don't know why. I do preview this like when we're going through it, but I try to not look at that part ever. And I'm always surprised when I get to it. And it seems like every team loves to score late, and I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like it's almost most teams have a pretty significant chunk of goals come in that time frame. So I don't think it's uncommon at this point. Unfortunately, we just love to concede in that time frame as well. But they score every 72 minutes. Usually when they're playing away matches. This is an interesting side here. Of their 39 goals, Justin, 35 have come within the 18. 9 of those were headers. So they've got this aerial presence as well to them. That's the most headers I think I've seen on any preview we've done. And it's noted by them being, a very effective team in terms of they had the second worst shot on target percentage, but they also have the second closest average shot distance. So they're not going to waste time shooting from, long range. They do have it in their pocket if they need it. But this is a team that's going to generate very, very high quality, hard to stop chances for Berkey. They, like I said, a very high possession team. They're top 10 in progressive passes and carries, and that across the short, medium, and long. So 5 to 15, 15 to 30, and 30 plus. And they like to cross the ball. Second most crosses in the MLS and third most corner kicks. That hurt us on 2 of those goals they scored against us back on our first fixture. So this team's got plenty of strengths that we need to, I think, keep in mind. I'm sure Carnell is focusing the guys on heading into this match.
Yeah, and I will say the one thing I'm going to note before I get into some of these new stats too, Jake, kind of seems weird. They're second to last in shots on target percentage, but then they have the second shortest average shot distance. Like, so they're just shooting a ton from close and just completely missing the net. Which then kind of all bring it all in. They have the most amount of crosses. So probably a lot of glancing headers and just missing it from inside the 6.
Yep.
So that's the story that I'm going to tell. New stats. Number 1 in XG from set pieces and most XG in open play. I've been very impressed by that. Number 2, and most passes per sequence of 3.98, and number 2 in 10 plus passing sequences. I'm going to go ahead and say that we are last in both of those categories. So a completely different style of play for us. And number 2 in build-up attacks, which is a team that I'm actually okay with. They're going to try to play through us, and I think we can get pretty condensed. And we've had a good block of a defense that is really centered around Blum and Leuven, and I'm completely fine with that.
And defensively, this has been their reason for their position on the table this year, which is not what most people think about when you think about Seattle. But expected goals against, they're number 2 in the MLS with 1.22 per 90. And then they're actually outperforming that. Their goals against is 0.97 per 90, which is number 2. So a very, very defensively astute team. When they go away, a little bit more leaky, I would say, but still not overly. They've conceded 21 of their 32 goals against while away, and they concede most of those between the 61st and 75th minute. So they like to concede in the second half as well. They allow the second fewest shots on target against, and they're a top 10 tackle team in the MLS, evenly kind of spread across the thirds of the field if you break it off that way. So they're not a team that, is known for pressing in certain parts. They kind of, I'd say, apply a lot of pressure in all the parts of the pitch, depending where the ball is. And goalkeeping, we talked about it, Justin, big part of their game. I mean, it's a lot of the reason why they're at where they're at is because of Stephen Fry.
Yeah, and I will say they're top 10 in tackles, and that's because they're bottom 3 in number of saves, but that's because they make so many blocks and tackles there. They're middle of the pack in save percentage, but they have number 2 in clean sheet percentages as well. And then their post shot XG minus goals against. Look at me breaking down acronyms. Is a plus 2.1, suggesting that their goalkeeper is above average. And I feel like that might be maybe second or third highest that we've had. I mean, Roman's number 1.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've had a couple that are right around like even or maybe 1 point or a decimal there, but 2.1, Stephen Fry having a pretty good year.
Agree. So keys of the game. What does this team have to do? I think generally City Park advantage, man. We're 11-3-2 win-loss draw at home this year. We need to have a strong finish to an incredible season. I think you talked about some of the reasons that while Seattle will get up for this game, we have a record on the line here. We need to lock up a higher seeding overall in the Supporters Shield to potentially lock up MLS Cup home field. But I think above everything else for me is you don't want to limp into round 1. You want to have a strong game. And a strong doesn't mean winning by 16. I mean, a strong game means we have a good performance, a full 90 from our starting 11 that we'll see in round 1. There's chemistry, there's chances, and we play Seattle close.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, if you want to finish strong, no late goals. We cannot give up a late goal. This is our last chance to do it. I have last chance to do it before we cry the entire offseason. If we give up late goals and that's how our season ends, I'm going to be so upset. This is our last chance to prove that we can do this, and we can go into a game that is going to have a playoff atmosphere, even though it's not the playoffs, and actually close teams out. So let's get up early and let's do it. So specifically for the offense, use our skill players to go at these defenders. We have the spark plugs. We have the downhill speed of Sam. We have the touch of Joao Klaus. We have AZ. We'll get into who's all going to start and all of that. We need to use it. And speaking of Sam, his revenge game. He only made 3 appearances and spent most of his tenure out at Seattle loaned out. show them what they're missing out on. Even you already have throughout the regular season, but now you take it directly to them.
Amen. And then I'm so excited to see some Klaus connection and hold up play. It's going to be important to let some of the air out of this game at times. And I think he's a guy that can help you do that. Make the most of your chances. We see Seattle and how, defensively strong they are and how few goals they've conceded and expected goals and, just total goals against. They're not going to give you much. You're going to have to get by on very, very slim and small opportunities. So make the most when they're presented to you. And let's take our game to them as well. Let's force this back line to make errors, create chances, create our own luck. We've seen that work this season, even against some good teams. So that's my recommendations for offense. Defensively, gotta be strong on set pieces here. You cannot give this team a goal, give them a chance at all. Aerially, they've been strong. We got to challenge them, play a physical, tough game. And I think, to take it even further, got to nullify some of the wing play, whether that's from their fullbacks or from their wingers. I think our fullbacks will have quite a task on their hands to shut down guys like Leo Chu, Christian Roldan, whoever's out on the wings for them, because they're gonna give you a lot of crap most of the nights, and you got to limit those cutback crosses.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, like you already mentioned, I mean, defending set pieces, everything else that we need to do in this game. I always have an eye on where Jordan Morris is. It really upsets me that he just kind of floated to the front post on that first game. And I think that's one that we need to keep an eye on him. Let's shut him down. Yes, Leo Chu can make the creative chances and whip the balls in, but if you know where Jordan is, there's a good chance they're not scoring.
Agreed, Justin. So I think you said it already, but I think my goal, I'm going to only have a defensive one for this one. I think a clean sheet in the second half, especially no late goals. That's my extra credit assignment for the boys. That's what I'm looking for this team. It's been unacceptable how many goals you've conceded then. And I think you got to right that ship and give yourself momentum heading into this final stretch of playoffs. But Justin, we talked about starting 11. You got to find that right 11, give them time together, get them blooded and good chemistry prior to the playoffs. I think we found it against Sporting Kansas City. And I think my 11 is that same 11 that started that match in a 4-4-2. And I could see also some small changes or tweaks if needed here, but that would be Berkey, Markinick at left back, Nilsson and Parker paired in the center, Nerwinski out on the right. And then I think your midfield four would be AZ, Leuven, Blum, Vasilev. The only places I could see potential switches would be Indy. And maybe AZ, but I think that'd be harsh on him considering how important he's been for us. And then I see a Dinneran and Klaus up top. Why not? Why mess with that? They're both great, big, strong players, but they play so different and they give you something different to challenge when you're on defense. So I think that's my starting 11.
No, I'm with you across the back line and obviously with Berkey. I still, that I always go back and forth with AZ. If he'll be a starter. The only one I do want to mention, Jake, is Indy. If he's playing tonight versus Japan and like when he gets back and all of that, will he be a starter? How much time does he get for the U.S. men's national team tonight against Japan for the Olympic qualifying? So just want to keep an eye out there. So don't be overly surprised if he doesn't start. It's not like he's injured or anything, knock on wood, with him playing tonight. But otherwise, yeah, Klaus and Dinneran up top. One of the best duos that you're going to see in MLS.
Predictions.
Jake, what are you doing right here? I saw that.
I just had to change here. So I think Seattle is going to be playing like their life depends on this one to keep their home field advantage because of how much it means to them as well. And I wasn't convinced by our last showing. For some reason, I feel like this could be a potential loss for us. And Seattle's a good team, and I feel like we've struggled to break down teams that are very strong in possession and that are very defensively sound. So it's going to be a battle for us. So I'm predicting a 2-1 L on this one. I hate to do it, especially the last game of the season, but I think it's going to be a battle for us. But my best bet for this game, so City sitting at plus 130 right now, Sounders at plus 180, draw at plus 240, over under set at 2.5 at minus 135 for the over and plus 105 for the under. I'm going to put my eggs in the basket of the second half over 1.5. Both these teams like to score and like to concede in the second half, and that is at minus 120 right now. So the second half over at 1.5 is at minus 120. That is my lock of the week, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm doing a little bit of emotional hedge here. I'm not going to lie. I would really love to beat Seattle at home.
Yeah, especially when you said that we need to lock up. Your goal is to not give up any goals in the second half, but you're predicting that we only score one goal, but you're taking the over 1.5 in the second half. Jake.
Dude, I'm sprinkling
I'm a betting man. This thing, I know you're all over the place. You're doing hedges while you're betting as well. It's fine. I am going to take a 2-1 dub. I was hesitant. I almost went with a 2-0 dub. And you know why? It's because I always think we're scoring 2 goals at home. Yes, this is one of the best defensive teams in letting up goals. But they're, like you said, they're going to be playing for their lives. They're going to be wanting to make a push. They cannot come out of here with an L. They want that home field advantage. And I think that's when they're going to be a little bit more open up. And if they try to sit back, I think we'll just break them down. So I'm going with the 2-1 dub. My bet, I was looking around on it. I don't absolutely love it right now, but I'm still going to hammer it anyways. The plus 105, City to score over 1.5 every time, dude. I looked at it. It's like money line, fine. I could see that's plus 130. I don't really want to lose that. Draw no bet. That's not fun. Minus 140. And then like double chance, like minus 400. I'm not taking any of that. So us to score 2 goals, plus 105.
I like it. I mean, it's Old Faithful. It's rarely misses.
Yeah, exactly.
I think if we score 2 goals in this game, we're at least drawing. I don't think, I think it could be a 2-2. I was tempted to go 2-2 on a draw. Because you just know that Seattle, they're gonna be coming out to fight in this game. But it's City Park. If this was away, I'd be kind of pretty scared right now. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm glad we're at home. I think it's a good way to finish. Be great weather. But they have a lot to play for. A lot more than us in that one fixture.
Yeah, I'm confirming it again, Jake, because I feel like I've always said this, but have yet to confirm it, and I always do. Anytime that we have scored 2 goals, we have not lost a game. Ooh, we have tied LAFC 2-2, but we have not lost a game where you have scored 2 goals.
At home?
No, period.
Oh, just period?
All season. We have not lost a game where we have scored 2 goals. I mean, there's a lot of 1s and 0s in there. I mean, someone fact check me, but I'm scrolling through it right now, and I'm almost positive. I'm seeing a lot of 0s or 1s, but I'm not seeing a 2 for us with an L anywhere the entire season. We have not lost a game 2-3 or 2-4, whatever.
Okay. I like that. A little bit of hope there. It's going to be a lovely, lovely night at City Park. I hope everyone enjoys it. We are going to be back with a recap shortly after, and then a little bit of a break, just a couple days more than usual prior to round 1, where the wild card can be played, and we'll know who we're playing. But I encourage everyone, enjoy decision day. It's hectic. It's drama. It's kind of like a little bit of a bracket challenge in the MLS. It's just fun to see all these teams playing for a lot at stake. So for those people that like to, kind of crap on these long seasons and such, this is the one day where it all kind of matters. So everyone take advantage of it on Saturday.
Yeah, and circle back. I know if you've already listened live or if you're listening to this, circle back and listen to all the different options and look at how many teams are playing for different spots, either home field advantage or getting into the playoffs or maybe staying in your playoff spot and not dropping out or making wild card. Even though we have first place locked up, there's still a lot to play for us as well. We talked about that with seeding into the final. So this day is pretty awesome, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope to see everybody out there, but you can't stream it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and we also have the expansion team points record to play for. If we get 2, which obviously you can't get 2, but if we win, we will be the highest points earning team in expansion team like inaugural season history. So the most successful season ever points wise for an expansion team. We already have the most wins, so it'll be a lot to play for. Yeah,
Jake, that was one thing I wanted to say. People were asking like, what are we thinking for playoffs or for starting lineups? I know we hit that. These are Instagram questions. If we don't win overall this season, then when do you think we would win? Next year, obviously every time. And then how do you balance staying healthy and staying sharp at the same time? I think it's just quick, sharp practices with those guys. Sorry, I just want to hit these questions real quick because I asked for it and then I forgot. Jake, we'll talk about this. Go one real quick. Who's your preferred first round opponent? Like that's our giveaway. So now who would you like?
Who would I like of those teams?
Yep. And who would you like the least? My least liked is Dallas.
Yeah, people are a little scared of Dallas. I think Portland's kind of good too. I would rather not have Portland, but they'd have to have a pretty big skid. I would say San Jose I would like to play, I think. And I kind of want to dodge the Sporting bullet, to be honest. I just don't want to play them that many times in a season. I just feel like they're going to have our number at some point, and they already, did at home. So I'd be fine playing Minnesota as well, but I do think it's likely that Minnesota loses to Sporting. And I feel like we're going to be left between, I could see a Dallas Sporting wild card, and either one you're kind of like, but you know what? We have home field advantage. We've earned it. I have faith in the boys.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to spring that one on you. We didn't prep for that. I agree. I don't want to play Dallas. Sporting, I feel like we'd easily win it. Not easily, but you don't want to do one of those cross rivalry across the city, and they just come over here, try to get a tie, try to get back to Kansas City. I'll go San Jose. I'll say that's a team that I want to play. It was Austin, but they're mathematically eliminated now. So San Jose is my new one.
There we go. There we go. We have some more questions in here that came in live, but more so about the offseason. So hold the offseason questions. Let's focus on the end of this season. Plenty of thoughts, though, heading into this offseason. It's going to be a very active one. I have a feeling for the club. So, Kevin, good question. We will definitely get to that very soon here. But for all of you that join live and for all you listening after, thank you all for being such awesome listeners throughout the season. I can't believe this is the last preview of the regular season, but there are more to come here heading into the postseason. So we're here for the ride, man. And until we speak to you all again on Sunday, enjoy Decision Day and all for City.
All for City.